Hey y'all, and welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, thanks for stopping by. Today we're going to be working on a 20-ounce straight tumbler from the Tumbler supply store, and we're going to make it this beautiful fall themed. It's like a split with some chunky stripes. First things first, we are mixing some glitters. So for this yellow, I'm using Pineapple and 24K Magic from Diamonds and Dust. I am trying to match all of the colors in this gorgeous leafy fall patterned vinyl from Diamonds and Dust as well. So I mixed up that yellow and I thought it was pretty darn close. And then I'm going to go in and make an orange mix. So I used Copycat from Diamonds and Dust. And then we are using Freckles from Peachy Olive Glitters. And then I added in just a hint of Whatever, also from Diamonds and Dust. It just gave it that little bit extra of like, I don't know, an orangey tint that was vibrant. So I don't know, that Whatever just did it perfectly. And then for the yellow, we're going to go back in and add some Cheesy Poofs from Peachy Olive Glitter as well, just to give it more of that goldenrod color that I was looking for. And then we're going to go in and mix some white, which is actually more of like a creamy color. So all of these are from Diamonds and Dust. We're going to go in with Abominable, Leopard, The Hive, and Drizzle. And I just kept mixing and adding until it got pretty close to a creamy color that I wanted. It's hard to make a creamy colored glitter, but I figured adding a little bit of that leopard for the yellow would be a good choice, and then we're going to put it over a cream colored base. So what we did first is we're going to trim off our vinyl to half of the tumbler width. I just measured the circumference of the tumbler and then split it in half, and then I measured that out on the vinyl, made a little mark and trimmed it off with my paper trimmer, and then I laid it against the tumbler and I made a little mark so that it was a little bit longer than the tumbler, and I trimmed that off as well. And then I'm going to do the hinge method per se for applying this vinyl, but the easiest way for me to apply this was because it was right on the straight edge. I lined up that vinyl on the straight edge. I trimmed a little off on the side just like you would for the hinge method, but then I lined it up against the top rim, leaving a very slight little exposed stainless up there, but I knew it would be straight that way. And then I pressed down that exposed vinyl and then applied it just like the hinge method with my squeegee. And in this case, I wanted all the leaves to face up, so I made sure that when I trimmed it all, they were going in the right direction. And I wanted to leave enough hanging over because I want to have the vinyl curve over the bottom as like it would look like a wrap more so than it just cuts off. I didn't want to glitter anything on the bottom of this side, so I wanted it to curve over onto that bottom. So I got all that vinyl applied. I just took my squeegee, and just like any other hinge method, I just pushed with my squeegee and the backing came off and applied it beautifully. I'm so glad I got that lined up straight at the top because usually I don't, but this time it worked. It only had like one little bubble and it was perfect. After that, I'm going to go in and wrap this bottom. And what I did first was I heated it with my heat gun just to make it's already very stretchable, pliable vinyl, but heating it just a tad makes it just a little bit easier to stretch, and I really wanted it to stretch. There's not really a lip on the bottom, but there's kind of like a circle in the bottom of this tumbler, so I wanted the vinyl to go over that little rim right there so that I could trim it off and it would look nice and clean. So I had forgotten to trim my little like notches in the vinyl before I heated it. So after I heated it, I trimmed the notches, heated it a little bit more, and then each notch I just kind of pulled over. I pulled and stretched and laid it down and rubbed my finger on it, and it lays down beautifully. And then where that little lip is, I just took my sharp X-Acto knife, trimmed it off, and it looked like a really nice clean cut. And the lip edge, it's beautiful, no wrinkles, nothing. It's so pretty. Okay, Now on to the next part. I swear this is like a fairly simple tumbler, but there's just a lot of like parts to it. So on the non-vinyl side, I measured from top to bottom and it was just a little over 8 inches tall. And so I decided to go ahead and just make it easy on myself because I don't like to really measure like technical, all the little in-between lines. So I decided to just make each chunky stripe 2 inches, and then the bottom one, since it was going over to the actual bottom anyways, it's a slightly bigger chunk, but you can't really tell anyways. So I laid down some rolls of masking tape or painter's tape and laid my Sharpie on it and lined it up with the lines that I did at every 2 inches, marked those off so that I could tape those off. I really need one of those tools from Cami Page Boutique that will help me draw those lines, but I just haven't ordered one yet. After that, I taped off on the vinyl side because we don't want to get any paint on our beautiful vinyl. And then I taped off the top and the third chunky stripe so that we can go in, or wait, maybe, no, I taped off the bottom and the second chunky stripe, and then we're going to go in and paint those and apply the glitter. So I used some cream colored chalk paint and mixed it with a little bit of my Crystalac glitter glue, and then immediately applied that cream colored vinyl or glitter mixture that we created at the beginning of this video. Applied that, and then we're going to go in right on the same spot of my little paint easel. Here is a notebook piece of paper, and we're going to use some orange paint with some glitter glue, apply the orange glitter mix that we created at the beginning as well, apply that, and then we're going to remove the tape from the second and the last chunky stripe, and on this one we're going to also just use some yellow paint mixed with some glitter glue and apply that glitter. And then we're going to, on the very bottom, I didn't make a mix for that color because it matched perfectly already. It was aged bronze, also from Diamonds and Dust, but it was like a perfect match. So I had some brownish chestnut colored glitter or paint that I also applied with the glitter glue, and then applied that glitter. Look how perfect it matches that vinyl. And then I rolled it on a piece of notebook paper as well. Even though it's not a chunky glitter, I like to do this. It really does help make a difference in laying that glitter down flat. And then my favorite part is peeling off those side tapes, because then you get that nice crisp line where the glitter is, and it's so pretty. After that, I set it aside so that all the glue could dry, and then it got 2 coats of Rust-Oleum's glossy clear spray paint so that those glitters don't move around when we epoxy it. And then it got 2 coats of epoxy, and then we're going to move into this next part. I found some leaves that were kind of similar to the design on the vinyl. I didn't want it exactly the same, but I found these in my Silhouette software, and I made an outline of them, and I cut just the outline out, and I wanted it to be, my vision was a bright gold. I had like some textured gold, but I really wanted this bright gold. I thought it went perfect with all of these fall looking colors. And we're just going to add these little gold leafy outlines just randomly on the vinyl side only. After that, I'm going to stripe out the stripes. I wanted kind of a chunkier stripe, so I used this cream colored vinyl. I just got a 12 by 12 sheet at Hobby Lobby because this vinyl matched perfectly. So I just striped out the stripes in this cream color, and then I used that same bright metallic gold to make a thinner center stripe. And I did in between all the chunky stripes, and then down the side where the vinyl and the glitter meets as well, I did the cream and then a chunky gold stripe as well. And then after that, it got 2 thin coats of epoxy, and then we're going to move into the last step of this tumbler. Actually, I take that back. I only did 1 coat of epoxy on top of this vinyl because it was pretty smooth after that. And then we're going to move into this next part. I originally had a different idea. You know me, it always never works out the way I intentionally envision it. But this is what ended up happening. The wording was just too small to fit on one of those little stripes. So I ended up making it like a really big decal for it. Oh, first, because of the way the vinyl was right where I leave my logo on the bottom, I really wanted it to kind of match, so I cut out a gold circle to go around that as well. And then we are going to write the word fall down this tumbler, and I did it opposite of the stripes. I did the gold as the offset and the cream as the front forward word or color. And then I did this quote that says, "Fall is proof that change is beautiful." I have a hoodie that says that. I just love that saying. So I lined these all up, and then I applied that fall words, 1 letter in each chunky square. Now, here's my debate that I was going on internally in my mind after I applied all of this. Let me tell you. So usually when I apply a word or two down the tumbler, I always go from the top to the bottom. That's just the way that I see it better, is from top to bottom, because you read top to bottom. So I put this on, the fall word top to bottom, lined up the wording, and then I looked at it, and then I couldn't decide if it was bothering me, because technically you're reading from top to bottom, but when you read it, when it's standing up, you're reading from right to left instead of left to right. So I really stared at this for a long time, debating if I liked it or not, and if I was going to peel it off and start over. I sent it to a few friends to see what they thought, and they all thought it looked good this way. And in the end, I ended up leaving it because I thought, well, if you're looking at it from the top while you're drinking it, you're reading it left to right, and it looks right. So I ended up leaving it. I liked the way it looked. The lineup of the 2 vinyls was perfect, so I just left it. Gave it 2 final coats of epoxy, and this beauty was all done. Fall is my favorite, so I really do love the way this came out, and I hope that you guys enjoyed this tutorial. I know it was a lot of moving parts, you could say, but in the end, it's fairly simple, but it's so pretty. It will be available on my website, like usual, if you want to snag this beauty for yourself. I almost want to keep it, like I say every week, but I have so many. But like always, everything will be listed down in the description box, all of the items that I used and where you can find me. And like usual, thank you so much for all the love and support, and I will see y'all next week.